What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Miguel, and Brad is muted.
Oh yeah, I'm muted. Sorry, you hear music and you didn't hear a word I was saying. What I was saying is let's face the music. I'm feeling some music tonight. This is our full spoiler review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This movie absolutely ruled for about 25 different reasons. Make that like 250 different reasons. It was amazing. So, this is a full spoiler review. Again, I guess you missed the whole intro, but welcome back to Let's Talk Movies. I'm Brad. He already said he's Miguel. Happy Saturday night, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. Hope you've had an awesome start to your weekend. If you have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I'm going to go ahead and say you need to probably think about backing out the stream here pretty soon.
Because I don't even feel like I want to do like a spoiler-free review.
Yeah.
I already did that. I'm ready to talk about this, dog.
Well, and there's so much to talk about with it. I mean, it's one of those movies, and I feel like, I don't know, I feel like you and I say this quite a bit, and I know we do it a little bit differently than a lot of other channels do. I know a lot of channels do a whole big spoiler-free review and then kind of, do, I don't know. We're different, and we like that. We like being weird and different.
We do like being weird.
With each other. But anyways, moving Oh, what are you going to do?
Nothing, not a damn thing. No, I'm kidding. So, how's your night been, man?
I'm doing okay. I got home super late last night because we went and saw this movie, which is why I didn't get the spoiler-free parking lot review thing out until this morning. I mean, it was almost 1 a.m. when I got home, and
I know I was not expecting this movie to be that late.
I don't know what I did. I was telling Miguel before the show, I have tweaked my back. It's like the left side of my back, like halfway, it's like middle to lower back. I don't know what I did, but I did something, man, and it hurts really bad. And then of course, me being an idiot, I decided to go out and do yard work all day. So I was like out working, and I've inhaled pollen.
Wait, you messed up your back and then continue to go to do yard work? Is that what happened?
I did. I had to finish mowing, and I had to weed my garden, and it's time, man. And it's supposed to pour all day tomorrow, so I was like, I'm not gonna want to.
Is it really? Yeah.
Yep, supposed to storm all day in the old KY.
Kentucky
tomorrow.
Can't get a break. I say that, but yet, I mean, Kentucky's probably best off out of most of the states in this Midwestern area.
Well, we've avoided all the tornadoes and stuff, which is good.
So I'll take some rain.
Knock on wood, but
very.
Yeah, it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, so I wanted to get that done. But listen, please bear with me. I'm a little bit of a hot mess tonight because of all my ailments. Speaking of, I was gonna have some bourbon tonight because it's Derby Day. We watched it a little bit ago, but I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it with the old.
Did your horse race?
I don't know what horse was what. Dude, did you see they've lost like 7 horses this week?
Bro, we were talking about that.
They've had to put down a lot
all throughout work. Like, I felt kind of bad for like Keeneland or like for the Derby, but I was like, man, like y'all got to do something.
I think it was called Mage.
What Mage. Was the latest?
The horse's name was Mage. No, the one that won.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Yeah,
on her.
if you type in the word Derby, the first thing that comes up is Kentucky Derby recap. Mage wins the 149th Kentucky Derby, but in a day marred by the death of 2 other horses. So that's like they've lost 2. I guess I don't know if they've lost 2 today, but I mean they've lost like 7 this week. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I did the count. Yeah.
They need to figure that out.
I did the count. It was pretty bad.
Because that's rough. I hate to see that, but
So give me a second, guys. Sorry to stop out for you guys, but give me a second.
It's okay. We know you don't love us. It's fine. So yeah, we went and saw this movie last night, and I must say we've talked about this before on the show. And it's something that I guess I've been trying to not let bother me because part of me is like, all right, trust the creative process. I get it. I understand that, the writers have a direction that they are taking us in terms of like the overall arching story of the MCU. But it's post Endgame, Infinity War and Endgame was such an event, and it was such a big cinematic experience, and it was something so large and so cool. but I feel like we've been lacking the direction and the connective tissue in the multiverse saga in a way that we weren't in the Infinity Saga. I mean, you had Captain America: Civil War, and you had Iron Man 3, and you had you had different stories that kind of built up the world around the Infinity War story, but it still felt like we had a clear direction. We knew that we were moving towards Infinity War, and we knew we were moving towards Thanos and everyone kind of coming together to try to stop this bigger overarching threat. We knew that was coming, and that was through the post-credit scenes, through little things said throughout the films, the Infinity Stones popping up throughout the saga. We had a clear direction of where we were headed. With the multiverse saga, I thought we would kind of get a little bit of that same thing, and largely, again, like I said a minute ago, I've tried to not let it bother me, but it feels almost directionless, which is very weird, and that's a very strange thing to say, and I hate being that way. It sounds like I'm being negative about it, and I know so many people like to dog on the MCU for being, I've heard people say it's woke garbage, and that it's, it's all Disney-fied and whatever. You're back.
Sorry, I had to chase my dog.
Yeah, you're out of breath. Did you? Was there a man? Someone else? You're cheating on me? What's the deal?
No, my dog got out. That's all that happens.
I got you.
So what's up?
Well, I was just saying, like, it's bothered me. I've been trying to not let the fact that we don't have a clear direction of the multiverse saga bother me, but it's kind of started to, like, I'm not. I don't know if concerned is the right word, but it's. I guess it is a little bit of a concern, because I'm like, with the Infinity Saga, we knew we were headed towards the war with Thanos, and we knew we were headed towards the Infinity Stones, and we kind of had an idea of what was coming, and that made it all the more exciting. I mean, that made each new project all the more exciting. But with the multiverse saga, it almost feels like we're lacking the connective tissue between all of the projects to make it the multiverse saga. Yes, there have been multiverse things that have happened, but it doesn't feel like we're moving towards something. I mean, we're halfway. Do you realize we're at the halfway point to Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars? And I feel like there's no direction. Like, I don't know. I mean, we've seen Kang twice because of Loki and because of Quantumania, but we've really only seen Kang the Conqueror once. And I know that's a whole other conversation in and of itself, the Jonathan Majors thing and what's going to happen with that. But and I actually kind of have a thought on what they could potentially do if they did have to end up recasting Jonathan Majors. But I don't know. What do you think, Miguel? Do you feel like the multiverse saga doesn't have the same powerful direction that the Infinity Saga did? Because I feel like we're lacking that connectivity between the projects. Now, all of that to say, I thought Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was incredible, and I 100% hope that we start getting more projects like this and like Spider-Man No Way Home. I think it desperately needs more of that.
Well, do you want to talk about like the movie first before we get to the whole multiverse thing? Which I'm okay with, like either order, but I just thought maybe we should get to the meat and bones before we even
that's fine.
Started on the multiverse thing. Because I mean, I do have my opinions, and it may be polar opposites from what I'm sure you were talking about. Because I heard some of it, but also I heard what you said. We're talking about last night. And I was, I have some opinions, obviously, but I don't know. Do you want to talk about the movie first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, we can talk about the movie. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, how do you want to go with the movie? Because I mean, I could go, all night for that movie. I'm not gonna lie, guys.
Well,
I've said this in the spoiler-free preview. I thought this is probably one of the best trilogies that I've seen in a long time. And there's been a lot of trilogies that's just fucked up.
I mean, let's knock that out right now. I mean, it's one of the best it's in the top 3 to 5 best superhero trilogies of all time.
Oh yeah,
honestly. I
hands
mean, it
down.
really is. I mean,
Mhm.
I still think I'd put Toby's Spider-Man above it.
I wouldn't. I
Really?
would not. It is over Spider-Man's trilogy as a whole.
I
I
mean, I wouldn't
don't
dog
guys in
anybody
the
who said
comments
that,
like
man. I
literally do
wouldn't.
not literally guys in the comments do not dog me because I know Spider-Man 2 is literally one of the greatest superhero movies of all
I
time.
think
I get
honestly,
that.
I think Spider-Man 2 is the greatest superhero movie of all time.
I get that. I really do. But as a trilogy, as a three-part movie, like I don't think it compares. As a cohesive story, I don't think it does.
I mean, that's fair, dude. I completely get it. And let me ask you this: do you take the Dark Knight trilogy, or do you take the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy?
Both are good in their own right. I'd say that. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not gonna.
what a cheap out answer! If I said that, you'd be like, "Nope, you got to pick one. Nope, you got to pick one. Brad, you got to pick one."
Well, okay, no. If I were to say that, I'll say I don't
It's
know. I think it's the fact I would probably go with Guardians of the Galaxy still. Still, eat my ass. I'm sorry. I know Guardians of the Galaxy is probably too kid showy for a lot of people, but I actually liked it. I know The Dark Knight's like very very like realism, dark, hardcore, and it's got a great story. Christopher Nolan it has a lot of heavy hits. Okay, great movie, great trilogy. I don't know. I just Guardians of the Galaxy is just pretty freaking original. If you ask me, man, like let's be honest, it's pretty freaking original.
Here. I'm gonna put a poll in the chat. So, best superhero trilogy. We have. Let me think of some the best ones. We have the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, obviously. The Dark Knight
Mhm.
trilogy. Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy. Toby's.
I guess Tom's too, if you think about it. Or you're not even gonna put that
Uh,
in discussion.
I wouldn't include that. Oh yeah, Cap's trilogy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, here we don't have to go too delve. We don't have to delve too far into what's the best trilogy. I mean, it's pretty
I
simple,
know.
but
I'm just
like
curious what people are gonna say.
that's true.
So
But
vote in the chat right
yeah,
now.
please vote in the chat. I truly believe like this is like a well versed contender for best trilogy, best superhero trilogy. I mean, let's not beat around the bush, guys. Like this was pretty solid. This is a pretty solid story, I gotta say.
Yes.
Like the whole. Just let me go with the movie of the third installment. First off, I love how the movie starts out as if it didn't really need to like explain anything further. Like I love how it's already like delving into the idea of like you already know what happened in the past two movies, Infinity War and in Endgame. And I know that's a little hard to do and be successful because back then, like if you were to start a trilogy, you would have to do every single movie as like a recap. The first 5 or 10 minutes has to be a recap, almost
Right.
always. But with this one, it's really like anchoring on the fact that like a lot of the fans are there because they've already seen everything else.
Right.
And I know that's a pretty big leap, but they really knocked it out of the park. I gotta say, even if you were someone that haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, Infinity War, and Endgame, I think you probably would enjoy this movie because it doesn't really like hark on what happened before. It just builds its own story on what's happened before, pretty much, if that makes sense. Like it's its own story,
Right.
but it also calls back to things that happened in the past that are still very new.
Yeah.
That would be very new to the newer consumer. But I gotta say, like when we start out with just Rocket, I knew from the get go like this movie was going to be mainly focused on Rocket. Like we were
Right.
all aware of that. So to start the movie out with Rocket, but then like to pull away and it just not be like it end up just being about the Guardians. I thought that was really really fun. And I gotta say, with the way the movie has gone throughout the entire movie, throughout the entire time, it was pretty much just a fun ride for me. I got to say, it was a fun ride. I enjoyed every bit of it. The soundtrack was pretty good.
Oh, the
The actors
soundtrack was
were,
great, dude. I've been
yeah,
listening to it all day. We went to the farmers market this morning. I had it on going like to there to home. I listened to it out in the yard. It was awesome.
yeah, man. Like Guardians of the
Since
Galaxy has
you've been
been
gone,
spot on
since you've
with
been
their
gone,
soundtrack. And you notice how it's been like progressively going through the
creep.
decades.
Yes, I did. I
Yeah.
noticed that.
Hmm.
For me, like I saw something on Twitter where James Gunn, he had made a post a couple days ago, and this is where it really kind of hit home for me. And it does relate to Volume 3. I know I'm in very big picture thought mode. Again, if you weren't here earlier, I'm not feeling well, so I'm also like fighting that. But for me, James Gunn said something like, he took inspiration from Star Wars for Guardians of the Galaxy. He wanted this Guardians of the Galaxy story to be the Star Wars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that right there kind of struck me as like, okay, not only are you creating this film set in a universe, but it's almost like James Gunn created a universe within a universe, if that makes sense. He built this big space epic that is weird and nostalgic because of the music and with really good character development, with really good writing. He built this whole world within a world that worked so well for 3 movies. I mean, there wasn't a
It
bad
progressively
Guardians.
kept getting bigger and bigger
Yes.
as the movies continued. Like the world that James Gunn created in Guardians of the Galaxy got bigger and bigger as the new installments came on. So that
Yes.
whenever we come to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, it's already this like vast new community that we
Right.
have already come to know and love already. So
Well, when he said that about the Star Wars comment, it just kind of struck me as like, okay, he's the dude really put a lot of time and effort into trying to build this world into something really, really cool and really, really unique and special. And I appreciate the work that James Gunn put into this trilogy and put into these characters. And I think he delivered maybe the best. Usually when we talk about trilogies, the third chapter or the third entry is the one that's the
it's
least
always the
liked. It's
weakest.
always the weakest one. Look at Spider-Man 3. Look at which I guess honestly I wouldn't say that about the Captain America trilogy because I actually think or not Secret Wars. I think Civil War is my favorite of the trilogy.
Hmm.
But look, the the Dark Knight Rises. Look at Spider-Man 3. I think he delivered the best entry of the trilogy as the capper. And the thing, I've thought about this movie nonstop all day. Excuse me. And I'm gonna cry. I'm kidding. The thing is, the character development has been so well done from
Hmm.
day one. That's what brought it home. That's why the Rocket storyline had so much weight. That's why this story and this trilogy capper was so incredibly important because of the fact that he put so much time and effort into making sure that these characters got their due. And I think that is the thing that makes the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy so special. You have other trilogies, but not every character got their moment in the spotlight. Not
Well,
not
you felt
every
like in a
group of
lot of
characters
trilogies
not every group of
got cheapened
characters
out.
has the chemistry and
Hmm.
the story to make them mesh and things like that. I mean, in every single one of them, even Kraglin and the friggin' dog, had really cool moments that let them kind of shine in this movie. Like there wasn't. It's almost like you have 8 main characters instead of having one main character that it revolves around. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
all get their moment in the spotlight. It's the strongest thing about the trilogy, and it's the strongest thing about Volume 3 is the treatment of the characters. It's done so well. And I tweeted this last night because I didn't get our spoiler free video out until this morning, but I tweeted this out and I said I really hope that Marvel Studios doesn't completely lose James Gunn. I mean, I know his directing days are probably over at Marvel, and that's fine. I understand that.
No, he can still
He's
direct.
got to go do his DC. He could, but I mean, I get he's got to go do his DC thing, and that's I get it. But And I'm sure his focus is going to switch to Superman Legacy now. But
Is that what he? Is that the only film that he's directing now?
yes, I don't think he was originally going to direct Superman Legacy, but then he was like he said he loved the script that he wrote so much that he wanted to go back and direct it. But
Hmm. Okay, no, he didn't trust
um,
any directors
yeah,
whatsoever. He said, this studio is cursed.
but
I need
yeah,
to
for
do
real.
this.
I told Miguel, I said, hopefully DC will be able to stand up on their own 2 feet after, after he takes over. But
I mean, yeah, I hope so too. I mean, James Gunn has really like solidified himself. He's definitely came through a lot in regards to his career when he started with the MCU, and to say that his legacy isn't etched in stone because of the MCU
yeah,
is saying lightly to it. I gotta say, like what James Gunn was able to accomplish with this trilogy is it's vastly more important than the MCU itself, I'd say.
100%. Well,
Yeah,
it captures what made the MCU special in the first place, and that was the treatment of the characters. I mean, this movie had heart, it had love, it had I can't speak. Legitimate fear for the characters. It had legit stakes. It had a really cool villain that wasn't goofy. It wasn't overly goofy. It wasn't overly comical. Like, it had moments where I actually laughed, like out loud, legitimately laughed
yeah, yeah.
more than I did in Thor Love and Thunder or more than I did with She-Hulk. I think, the more and more She-Hulk is one, the more and more I look back on She-Hulk, I'm like,
Look, you gotta understand right now.
I don't
The
care.
one thing that I did like too was the fact that like this wasn't like a cookie cutting usual script that we expected to
No,
see, I'd say.
no.
Because one, it didn't seem like a world-ending event that was going on. It just simply was let's save a best friend pretty much
Yes.
in this scenario. And I love the fact that like this trilogy pretty much made so many callbacks from the previous two films, but they didn't make it in a cheesy way. Like I'm sure
Right.
you guys can tell there are multiple situations. Like obviously with that Aisha check coming back, I mean that's telltale from Guardians 2 and the damn I forgot what their names were, but like the three giant worm looking things,
Yeah,
maybe
I don't remember what she
batteries. That
called
was
them.
pretty funny to look
Yeah.
back into. And then obviously you got the the traditional Come and Get Your Love by Redbone that Rocket loves to
Come and
play at
get
the end.
your
So
love.
like I think that James Gunn really like he really did a trilogy decently well, and I can do nothing but applaud him for it. And I think that with that being said, like with him going into DC, I think the DC is probably in good hands if he treats it with the same type of kindness. I gotta say, but I feel like my only concern is now that he's got multiple projects to do. It's not just one to like make a main focus on. But I
Right.
mean, that's obviously like splitting hairs now at this point. But I don't know. Yeah. But dog, let's be honest. Like, if you want to talk about a villain, let me say the High
Dude.
Evolutionary, he was a villain, I gotta say. Like, you know how like Thanos, Loki, Ronan, and all these other like villains that you hear, Ultron at least too, like you start to see their like motive
He,
and you start to understand their motive. So you have a little bit of like you understand it's easier to humanize them. Dog, this guy, fuck him.
I'm
Like
gonna
you
be
wanted
real.
him to fail from the
I
get.
looked at Miguel at one point during the movie and I said it's like Hitler. It is.
Yeah,
It's
you
like
did.
I think of like the experimenting on people and like the wanting to create a perfect race thing. Like he was like Hitler. I didn't sympathize with him at all. And I love that. That's the thing. That's kind of the crux of everything I've been, that we've been talking about up until this point. And I know there's some cool stuff in the chat. I'm going to get there in just a minute. If you haven't voted in our poll, please go ahead and do that. Um, that's the crux of this entire thing for me. Is that first of all, um, not only are the characters really really well written, but he took I lost my train of thought. I'm losing my mind.
Because
Cat
I can
just
hear the
walked
cat
in.
and I
I
can hear
know.
the cat
Well, I
coming in from
looked
the
over at
side.
him, and then I'm like, I'm fighting this. I don't know. It'll come back to me. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm losing my mind. Slowly but surely, I'm losing it.
Okay, but here, you got to help me
What
out
are we
with this.
just talking about? Because that's
You
gonna
got to
piss
help
me
me
off
out with
until I
his name.
remember.
You got to help me out with Obo's
Oh,
name. Because
never
big
mind.
respect
I
to
know.
him.
I know where I was gonna go. What I was gonna say was that's the thing about James Gunn is that not only were the characters well written, but he wrote a script that wasn't cookie cutter. You actually put it really perfectly. It wasn't like any of the other MCU films. It was its own really, really well told story. And it was weird and it was different and it was funny and it was way darker than the other ones. It was daring. I think that's what I mean when I say we need more of that. We need more of the James Gunn stuff. And I don't necessarily even mean from James Gunn, but we need more writers and more people that are willing to be like, dude, let's do this weird thing. Like, let's go nuts with it. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Like, let's go full tilt with this and do something new and different and cool with it. And I think that is what the MCU needs, especially as we move into Secret Wars. Now's not the time to play it safe. And I'm going to be real. Thor Love and Thunder was playing it safe. She-Hulk was playing it safe. Loki wasn't. You know, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness wasn't, even though that film was a Halloween Kills for me. I have a love-hate relationship with it. It not love-hate. I enjoyed it, but it didn't quite live up to what I wanted it to be. But this one, it did. I mean, this one gave me everything. I was 155% satisfied with the conclusion to this trilogy with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And I think we need more daring storytellers in the MCU moving forward, especially in this stretch as we get into the Kang Dynasty and as we get into Secret Wars. And as like I said before, as we try to find some kind of direction as to how we're going to get there, you know, I think that's really, really important. So I know you guys are moving in the chat. I'm so sorry. Let's go ahead and hop over there. Derpy's here. What's up, Derpy? All right, I'm going to be real with you all. After watching this entire film, kept saying no animals were harmed in the making of this film. You can't deny that you didn't say it. It was pretty rough. I saw a few people on Twitter that were like, before we went into the film, there were a few people that were like, if you have if animal abuse is going to trigger you, this may not be the one for you.
Yeah,
you know?
good luck watching this. Honestly.
Yeah. It went a lot darker with that than I expected it to go, which is pretty cool. I'm going to come back to this comment in a minute. Derby said the Captain America trilogy is better. Miguel's lovely woman, Sierra's here. What's up, Sierra? SPC, what's going on, man? SPC Unleashed. He also said, Miguel, I have a question for you. Would you like to be a guest on my new Star Wars podcast? Whatever. I don't need to be here. I'm kidding. If I was on your Star Wars podcast, this would be me the whole time.
It would be, yeah, it would. I mean, sometimes you gotta understand your own limitations. Let's be honest.
I'd be like, Rogue One is really cool. that's pretty much where I can go.
SBC. Yeah, if you wanna, if you wanna reach out back to me, I mean, I'm sure my social is on Instagram. So if you want to reach out to me, feel free to shoot me a message.
Listen, the easiest place to get a hold of Miguel is his OnlyFans. If you click his LinkedIn, or his link in the bio page, it'll just message him through OnlyFans. Buy a few things while you're there.
It's like $5 a message, so please don't spend that much money, dog. You're gonna leave in that place spending $50 and wanting more.
Gory Tiger, what's going on, buddy? I love you too, man. I love you, Austin. Now, Derpy, I'm coming back to this comment. The actor who played the High Evolutionary was better than Jonathan Majors. There, I said it. Listen, here's my thing. And I've seen a few other people say this, and I said this to Julia. Of course, she didn't go with us, but I was kind of explaining things. I said, if they wanted to take this gentleman who played the High Evolutionary, who was spectacular, I'm not even going to try to say his name. How do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it?
Look, I want to give respect to the actor, but I do not know how to say your name. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name, and I don't want to say it wrong, so I'm not going to. But if they needed to somehow recast Jonathan Majors because of everything going on, I personally think if they tried to if they tried to finagle this where, oh, the High Evolutionary is actually a variant of Kang, and they recast this guy as Jonathan Majors Kang, it would work. It would work 100%. And I would be 100% okay with that. Now, that's not to say that I didn't like Jonathan Majors. I'm actually kind of disappointed in the whole situation because I thought he did a hell of a job. I thought he was really good in that role. But I would 100% be okay with this guy playing Kang if it came down to it.
Is
I
that like
thought he was
your
a really
is that
good
like your
villain.
statement that you want to like? I mean, yeah,
If
I
it has
could.
to happen, I don't know if they're going to recast him or not. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole Jonathan Majors fiasco. And I tried to, I said something really like simple on Twitter. Like it wasn't even like a, it wasn't even anything crazy. And people were like, "You don't even know what you're talking about." I was like, "Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to like whatever, you know." Like I
Wait,
was just
what
talking
was
about
that?
Kang. I tweeted something about Kang a while ago. This was like a month or two ago when all this stuff first happened. It was like 3 days after it came out,
Hmm.
and that he had been arrested, and people on Twitter were like, "You don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you're trying to say it's okay? It's okay to be." I was like, "No." I was like, "What part
I
of
think that if you ever
what?"
tweet something, the next time you tweet something, I think you might need to like let me like vet it for fuck's sakes, dog.
Well, they did the same thing after when I rewatched the Pirates of the Caribbean films like 3 months
Mhm.
ago. I tweeted and I was like, "Look, you can't deny that Johnny Depp is one of the best performances of all time." In that first Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. Like Johnny Depp is incredible. And I've never had a tweet. My phone was blowing up with notifications about that. People were like, "Oh, so I guess you think it's okay for people to abuse their spouses." I was like, What? It was like I said was a good performance. Like what does that have to do with it was funny. People are so stupid on that stuff.
Well, I mean, everything has to be connected to everything, I guess, at this point in
You know
time.
what I have a
I
love-hate
mean,
relationship
nonetheless,
with? People.
oh my God.
People are
Well,
amazing, but people
nonetheless,
also suck.
let me say this, okay? If I do agree with you in the aspect that, like, in the event that Jonathan Majors has to be recasted, I could see how the story could play out where the High Evolutionary
I'm
was a
still
variant
here,
of
by the way.
Kang. But I gotta say, like, I think that the High Evolutionary was without a doubt one of the best one-off villain. That was what I would say is a one-off villain. Like, 'cause let's be honest, we would not want to see any more of that absolute like gene pool genocide bullshit that was going on, or that animal cruelty testing animal stuff kind of vibe. Like I think we're done with seeing that, right? Like we saw it. It was pretty brutal. Every bit of that was emotional, and we hate this man so much that we ended up making us love the the Guardians even more. So I think he is a perfect one-off villain, and it is okay for the fact that he had to die. Okay, let's be honest. There's no way the old boy is surviving that blown up ship. Let's be
Oh
honest.
no, no,
Mhm.
and again, the thing that was so cool about him was that I loved that Thanos was a sympathetic villain, and I loved that to an extent Ultron was a not. I don't know if I'd say I sympathized with Ultron, but I understood what
Mhm.
I understood why.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm
Even
with
if
you
even
still.
if you disagree with it, you still understand why.
Mhm.
But I liked the fact that the High Evolutionary was not a good person. Like I completely disagreed with him. And I liked that. I thought that was kind of cool. I appreciated that. Again, it was different. The movie delivered something different. And in this kind of time that we're in right now where it feels it's kind of ironic because it's like they're trying to do all these different things, with the Disney Plus shows, with Ms. Marvel, with She-Hulk, trying to do comedies, trying to tell different one-off stories within the universe, and some
Mhm.
of it just feels so vanilla, I don't know. I don't know why, but like looking back on She-Hulk and on like Ms. Marvel and stuff, I'm just like it was fine. I liked it. I enjoyed it like when it was on, but even Moon Knight, like I don't know. Like what did it contribute? You know what I
I
mean?
think here, dog, if you want to talk more about the fucking multiverse thing, I am more than happy to talk about it with you. Because let's be honest, okay? The multiverse will happen. It's going to happen. I'm sure it will. But we can't assume like everything has to be connected right now.
That's
If
fair.
that makes sense.
We're just halfway
Like I
there,
mean,
which is
like
why I'm like, what?
I totally get
You
that.
know?
But guess what? We're like a lot can happen halfway in. Like let's be
I know.
honest. Like shit can hit the fan at any point in time. You know, they say that the Marvels is supposed to be where the first incursion does happen.
That's fair.
Whether that happens or not, if they tell a good story, I'm completely okay with that. Moon Knight was a pretty great story. Did it
It
contribute to the
was.
multiverse? No, the fuck it did not. It did
I don't
not
want to sound
contribute
like a
jack
Debbie
diddly
Downer with it
squat.
because I don't mean it to
But
be
I
like
thought
that.
Moon Knight was absolutely baller. I
It
thought
was.
Oscar Isaac was baller. I thought the idea of it behind it was pretty dope. One thing I will agree with you, She-Hulk contributed absolutely zilch and actually went negative. I will agree
Yeah.
with you on that. It was really hard to understand what the fuck happened there. The only thing I liked about it was the fact that Daredevil got his mustard suit back.
Yes.
But
His
that being
mustard suit.
said, everything else in accordance with the multiverse saga matches. I'd say the only thing that didn't match were like probably three films. One was Werewolf by Night, two was the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and three was She-Hulk. Those are the only three events in the multiverse saga where I didn't feel like it contributed nothing to the multiverse. Everything else pretty much matches. And obviously you have I'd lie. You have also Shang-Chi and Black Widow. But I mean, right now that's like way past for us to understand what exactly is going on. And who knows? Maybe Shang-Chi does Shang-Chi maybe does connect to it because you remember that at the end when it had the little beacon at the end. Like that contributes to
Right.
what happened in Ant-Man and the Wasp. So these are really good films that are contributing to some degree. It's not the fact that like every single film in this franchise has to connect to Kang. Like it has to say Kang or it has to say multiverse or you have to be in a different realm. It doesn't mean it has to talk about the multiverse.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Kang.
Kang,
Doctor
yeah,
Strange in the Multiverse of Kang.
yeah, is that what is that what we wanted to get with? Because like if that was the case, the multiverse would have been dead on the spot with Jonathan Majors in this. Jonathan Major was only in two projects, and granted, they were really great projects. But at the end of it, if something happens to him, the multiverse saga will still continue because
Right.
even though we've only seen him twice, he still hasn't really solidified himself as a home actor, I guess, like a welcome home
Yeah.
actor,
Yeah.
like Chris Hemsworth or all these other top-notch actors that we've come to know and love yet, or like Loki and all that stuff. No, he hasn't been there yet. So I think that like with the way we are with the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3, this was not supposed to be a multiverse movie. I knew that from the get-go. This was not supposed to be.
I didn't expect it to be.
If James Gunn was going to connect this to the multiverse at some point, it probably would not have hit as hard. Maybe
No.
there's something there that probably connects it at some point or another, but it's too soon for us to tell right now. I knew from the get-go, as soon as I knew everything was connected, was when Thanos showed his big old head at the end of the end credit scene. And that was back when I actually enjoyed end credit scenes. Now it's to the point where I have people that are saying like, "Oh, that end credit scene was terrible," or "I didn't like the end credit scene" because it didn't contribute to the story. But in the grand scheme of things, to the major story, it didn't contribute. But to the story itself in this movie, it was pretty cool. I actually enjoyed it. So I don't know, man. Like as far as me for the multiverse stuff, I'm okay to wait for my cake. I'm okay with it because I'm enjoying my meal throughout this entire time. I've enjoyed all of these movies on the case of others, but I can enjoy them for what they are. So again, but it's really hard for me to make this statement for She-Hulk. Okay, it's really hard. I'm not going to deny it with you guys. She-Hulk was not that good. So with that being said, I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did not contribute to the multiverse at all. Did I think that hindered the movie at all?
Oh,
No.
absolutely not. That whole conversation only got brought up because this one was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was so good, and I just wish we had. This one gave me classic MCU vibes. It did.
Do you think
Felt
it would have been
like
cheapened? Do you think it would have been cheapened if I had to jump into a multiverse thing? Because at
I don't know
that
that it
point,
would have been cheapened. The vibe, the look, the feel, everything felt everything looked and felt like a classic Marvel movie, and
Yeah.
some of the new stuff hasn't. Even the good stuff has been its own thing, and that's okay. But anyways, I mean, moving on. Like I think from the get go, we knew this was going to be a character feature.
Mhm.
From the minute we see Quill, spoilers by the way, from the minute we see Quill drunk and we see kind of Nebula, taking a more a leadership role in Nowhere, things like that. When we're getting caught up with the characters, I knew immediately. I was like, okay, this is going to be a very character driven film,
Mhm.
and I liked that it was kind of straight to the point.
They
It was.
really
It
went to
was.
it.
It
It was like
literally.
10 minutes until shit hit the fan.
We went right there. I don't even know if it was 10 minutes. Um, I will say one of the things that kind of, I don't know if I'd say it disappointed
We
me.
would be in agreements with this one. I gotta say, we
Yes.
will be in agreements.
At first, I was like, "Ooh, here we go."
Hmm.
I almost said Black Adam. Wrong. Adam Warlock
Nerfed, hardcore nerfed. Let's be honest, guys, in the
was
chat.
a little bit of a
Nerfed.
pussy, if we're being completely honest.
They nerfed Adam Warlock to like level 1.
I mean, when you think of the strongest people in Marvel Comics, like I think of Adam Warlock.
I think
I
of
think
Sentry.
of Sentry. I think of the
Yeah.
Silver Surfer. I think of, you know what I mean? Like I think of,
These are her. These are not like god tiers, but they are hard hitters.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Warlock is up there with the most powerful beings in the universe,
Hmm.
and he was kind of like it was like a teenage boy who was like unsure of himself.
It was so
Like it
funny
was
because
very it worked. I mean, it was okay. It was just it was very different from what I expected. I expected Adam Warlock to be this like hardcore, you know, super badass figure, and then when he just kind of like,
and he started off that way.
Mom,
When he started off
like,
that way
what?
hard. Let's first off talk about the fight scene
That opening sequence
between
was
the Guardians.
awesome.
Baller as hell.
Awesome.
I thought Nebula was dead from the get go. Then I forgot that that's
I
her
did
vibe
too.
of her being broken
Yeah,
up. And
bro,
then put back
she was
together.
like, she looked like Peter Griffin after he falls, like in something where it's like the arms are all going in
Yeah.
different directions. I was like, and then she's like, you know,
Yeah, she gets back up. I was like, okay, damn, okay. I totally forgot that
like
you're capable
Vecna
of
in
doing that.
reverse.
Exactly. But I mean, shit, man. Like Adam Warlock really just like took down the entire Guardians with
Yeah.
some pretty good ease. I thought here's how I thought this started. I thought Nebula was dead already, and I thought Groot was dead already. That's what I
Yes,
thought. from
I
the
did
get-go.
too.
I thought they were just. I thought James Gunn straight up was picking two people off in
Yeah.
the beginning of this movie, and I was like, "Damn, son, you really starting off that way."
Yeah.
But I mean, luckily, you know, Groot learned from his mistakes and can grow a lot faster than before. But, shoo, man, like they really made Adam Warlock look like a badass in the first 10 minutes. That being said, though, when it's all said and done, and he comes back to the High Evolutionary, and he literally acts like a 6-year-old boy. I don't know what it is, but I feel like I was not surprised by that. Did you catch that? I didn't feel too surprised with how they did that or why they did that, because
with Adam,
yeah, because Marvel has a tendency to nerf certain characters.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Like, let's look at the Mandalorian. Twice. One, he ended up being just an actor, and that was a pretty big turnoff. And two, the rings that he had, they were supposed to control like a shit ton of. They're supposed to be more badass than what we got in the Shang-Chi.
Right.
So I thought that was a big nerf too on that end. And what other one that was nerfed pretty hard? I know of a couple more. I'm trying to think. But let's be honest, like they really have nerfed a lot of things in the MCU. And I know on the account of realism, but let's be honest, man, like this is the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like realism is pretty much out the window as soon as you said Guardians of the Galaxy. So I didn't understand why they had to nerf Adam Warlock down so hard. And the reason why they did it was because he was out of the chamber too soon.
Yeah. It was
like,
just kind of glossed over.
He's not a frozen hot pocket. Like he's not ready at a certain time. Like,
If you weren't listening for it, you almost could have missed that too. Yeah, that was an interesting choice.
and I'm surprised I caught that because
You know,
obviously at first I was like, obviously I knew that something was up whenever he came back to report to Adam Warlock, and I was like, okay, because I thought Adam Warlock was just gonna be like its own thing, and I thought the Aisha check were like their own like thing, until we got to the point where the whole existence
right?
is based on the High Evolutionary, and I was like, oh damn, okay, so we just like pretty much threw the
Yeah.
Sovereign out
Mm-hmm.
on the chopping block. Pretty much, we nerfed them too because they were a pretty badass group. I mean, let's be honest, like that entire fight scene with the Guardians and Guardians 2 was pretty
It's
baller.
dope. Yeah, it was
It's pretty
awesome.
dope. And then for me to find out, I know it's probably to add the fact to add to the strength of the High Evolutionary, but
Right.
I didn't think them nerfing the Sovereign and Adam Warlock together. I don't, I don't think it really helped the story. I think the only way it helped the story was to let the Guardians of the Galaxy be able to do the story. You
Right.
know what I mean?
I didn't mind it. I mean, I didn't hate what they did with him. I didn't expect him like to be kind of like a kid, like a lost kid throughout the entire thing. But I mean, it worked, and all
Remember,
of it. You know, at the end of the day, that whole
remember
that whole fight scene was just to figure out that Rocket had the kill switch on him. You know,
pretty much. And dog,
from a
bro,
story standpoint.
Warlock, Adam straight up just like locked
Yeah.
Rocket straight into the ground.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah. I mean, it.
bro,
You
the way
know,
they treated Rocket in the first 10 minutes of this movie, like a rag
rough,
doll, roughed
rough.
up.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense too, because otherwise,
Well,
why would you do
and
that?
pretty again, character thing, man. Pretty emotional when they're trying to save Rocket. When Gamora like realizes that Quill's trying to save him and they can't. They put the med pack on and it's not working and things like that. Like,
Hmm.
it was very again actual stakes for the characters,
Hmm.
real stakes. You really worried for him. It wasn't a surface level. Oh yeah, he's under attack. Oh, he might die. No, like it was like, are they gonna kill him right now? You know, just like when we saw Groot's head, I was like, bro, are we gonna what?
Oh, I thought Groot was
I
dead. I
know,
was
me
like,
too.
again, they killed my boy again.
They
I was like, shit,
didn't
shit,
even let it
bro.
go to the end this time.
They
First
really
of all,
didn't.
I thought the whole point with the first two movies was that he couldn't regenerate super quickly. How is it like Andy's back?
That is true.
I don't know. That didn't
I think
quite
it's the
make sense
fact.
to me.
I think it's the fact that like his conscience was still there, if that makes sense. Like if his head was there, his conscience was still there, so he was still able to grow. But
That's fair.
in the first Guardians, old boy was incinerated.
Yeah, that's fair.
Old boy was blown to smithereens.
That's fair. Not yeah.
Yes, so it's kind of hard to come back from that. It's gonna take a while to come back from that. You
Right.
gotta blow on the cartridge a little bit more, then you can play
Yeah.
again. So
Well, I'll tell you, I thought, you know, another thing that I really, really appreciated about the film and particularly about their whole Rocket storyline was the fact that, you know, we got bits and pieces about Rocket's story until we finally got the full picture towards the end of the film. You know, it I appreciated that we didn't just get it all right then. That it was like we slowly, you know, Scooby Dooed it together through
mhm.
those flashbacks and through things that Rocket would, you know, that we'd hear Rocket say in the flashbacks and things we'd hear the High Evolutionary say. Like, it wasn't just crammed down your throat. Like, it kind of dangled the carrot a little bit and it made you wait for it, you know, throughout the film, which I appreciated that. I liked that. And I liked that, you know, we took the time to establish. I mean, that's why the High Evolutionary, you know, banged so hard as a villain because it's like you slowly started to hate him, you know, like every single time we saw one of those
Well, you
flashbacks
knew
it
him
was
as like
worse
a
and
mad
worse
scientist at
and
first,
worse.
and
Yes.
then you saw him as like a absolute trash piece of
Maniac.
shit of a person. Yeah, like
Yeah.
absolutely. Like the scene where Rocket is just chilling with, the batch batch 89, I think. Batch 89, yes.
Yes.
With
Yes.
batch 89, and you see the High Evolutionary just running into the fucking room,
Yeah.
and he's like stumbling drunk. I'm like, oh, so not only is he a maniac, he's also a drunken piece
An
of shit too.
alcoholic.
Yeah, I was like, well, here we go, I guess. So I don't know, man. I'll say this: they really did a bang up job on that. But let's say this: with Rocket's backstory, yes, I agree with you. There should have been a disclaimer saying no
I'm
animals
sorry.
were harmed in here. But with that being said, I thought that this movie nailed it and talking about the tragedy of Rocket's backstory and his upbringing. Like this poor fucking raccoon started off as a simple raccoon who literally got torn apart and put back together as what he is now. When you see Rocket after the surgery of being the
It's
normal
rough
a normal raccoon to being Rocket,
when his
you seeing his
cranium is
body
all cut up
and
and
seeing how messed up he was and how much in pain, and you hear him say pain is the first thing he's, or it hurts.
yeah,
You, the first thing you hear, like you immediately feel so much hatred towards high evolutionary and so
right,
much sympathy for the four for the four that is batch 89 now.
right.
And you can immediately tell throughout this entire movie you were just waiting for the time for every single one of them to get the chopping block. The way they marketed batch 89, I knew from the get-go. I was like, these three are going to get hit so bad. Like they're going to die the most gruesome death, spoiler alert, the most gruesome death you could ever imagine. Obviously it wasn't as bad as we thought, but still they died and that shit was terrible. I'll be honest, I had to hold back some tears. But you got to admit, Rocket's backstory and how he was able to survive the high evolutionary and escape was without a doubt one of the most gut wrenching superhero origin story out there. Like literally,
Yes,
like Nick Cage is like, I don't even. This isn't the most badass superhero origin. This is the most saddest
yeah,
superhero
it
origin
is.
story, I gotta say.
It was very
So
sad,
yeah,
and again, it's even those brand new characters. You still through their dialogue and through those flashbacks, we still managed to care about, about Teefs and Lila and what was the other one called?
Tease, Lila, and Floor because
Floor,
he
yeah,
rhymes on the
Floor,
floor.
Floor, yeah. Like
Yeah.
we still managed to care about those characters. So when they did die, that
Quick
was
and
one of the
easy.
moments.
They ripped that band-aid off quick and easy.
That was one of the moments where I teared up. There were
Oh, I knew something like that
for
was gonna
sure
happen.
there were two moments. It was that one, and then when they saved Rocket and they started hugging each other. That one was like I might have had one stroll down my face. That was good,
Bro,
but
don't you love the
it wasn't even the fact that she got shot. It was Rocket's reaction to her getting shot
yeah,
that
yeah.
almost made me cry. I was like,
No.
oh, he
So
just that guttural scream was
mhm.
just like,
It was
oh
heart
my
wrenching.
god,
Yeah.
yeah,
And whenever Flora
breaks your
Keith
heart.
was like doing the same thing, like they were freaking out, and you had the high evolutionary just mocking them, I was like,
Yeah,
we can't wait.
yeah,
We
that
can't wait for a
was,
boy.
yeah. I couldn't, you
I
couldn't
thought
stand him by the end of the
I
film.
thought the high evolutionary was just gonna like gun them down right there because they were just like they kept screaming. I
Yeah,
thought he was just gonna get tired of it and gun them down right there. I was like, phew. And yeah, that's pretty tough, man.
right.
That's pretty
It
tough.
was rough. It was good though. I mean, I enjoyed it a lot. Again, it's a sad story, but his story was the heart of the entire thing. And even at the end of it, when he saves the animals, and when Quill says that's all of him, and he's like, no, he's like, no, it's not. I just it was so cool to see, Rocket have the heart for once, because Rocket was always kind of the cold one. He didn't want to. Rocket was just kind of in it
The
for
cold
Rocket.
one, the
Rocket was
vicious,
just
the
kind of,
most vicious one.
yeah. So it was cool to see him kind of have a heart, even when he goes to kill the High Evolutionary, and Gamora. I think it was Gamora's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm a freaking guardian of the galaxy, like, and he
Bro,
just left him.
when
He wrecked his face.
when he when
Woo!
Gamora pulled that mask, or when Nebula, whichever one pulled that
It was
mask,
Gamora.
oh,
Yeah,
that was worse than the scene in Nope. Like
yeah. It was rough.
that
It's pretty
shit
bad.
was like they.
He messed him up,
I
man.
mean, rightfully so. I mean, I'm sure some people clapped during that scene.
Yeah,
Like, for like, hey, yeah, sir, you're right, bitch.
yeah.
But I mean,
It was rough.
they like they really went for that in this movie. Like, let's be honest, this
Yeah.
movie was definitely not for the faint of heart.
No, it wasn't. And even, when we get to the whole counter Earth thing, and again, it's like a Hitler type thing. It's like this awful person that, under the guise of being their savior or
Their
their
God.
god or
That's what it
their
was. Their
father
God.
like thing, um, under the disguise of that, he's doing all of these awful experiments. And I mean, look how quickly, he says he cares about all of his creation, and he's trying to build this perfect society and whatever, but he killed them without any,
Incinerate them.
yeah, I mean, but I'm talking the planet, when he started bombing the
Oh
planet
yeah,
and
he
stuff,
straight
and
up just like blew it.
his ship lifted off.
All
I mean,
all from all from Peter just saying like you literally had people selling drugs.
exactly, yeah.
And he was like, "Wow, you're right."
I guess I'll kill all of them.
Killed him.
Like,
I was like,
Peter was even like, what? you know,
People were like,
it,
that bluff did not work.
yeah, he was a terrible, 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 terrible person in this film, and it just all of
We
those
never really
things.
had that. Let's be honest, we never
No,
really had that.
all of those things just kind of like combined, and of course, when, like you said, when we saw him laughing at the animals, I was like, all right, dude, I hope you die a terrible, awful, gruesome death.
Hmm.
But even,
So hold on, let's talk about we've talked about like Rocket's story, yeah, because we have a lot of stories to go through at this point. So we've
yes,
talked about Rocket's story.
he, she, we,
Yeah, Volume 3 was
yes,
fucking kiss. Yes. So
gotta get my Italian thing going on.
Ichi, we just talked about Rocket's story, and if you have any perspective on that, please let us know. It's Rocket's storyline, but like Rocket's storyline was also like one of the heaviest ones there, but there's also another heavy one which kind of goes under the rug, and that was Peter's story. Peter
Right,
slash Gamora, because I think that with Peter and Gamora's story in this film, pretty much ties back to how it was in the first two, if that makes sense. Because the whole Guardians of the Galaxy was primarily focused on Peter and him knowing who he is, where he came from, and who does he consider his family. And from the get go, after the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and to the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, we understand that Peter is now solidifying himself as like the Guardians of the Galaxy are my family, and they're going to be my family.
right,
Because he had the Ravengers, you always had the people at home, and he decided to say like, nope, the Guardians are my family. And then after the events of Endgame and Infinity War, you have him come back, and not only did he lose his family, but he also lost the love of his life.
right.
But not in the way that you think, where like she just dies. No, she comes back and does not remember
It's almost worse
Jack
than her
Dilly's
just
plot.
dying.
Yeah,
It
it's
really
like
is. I mean,
it's like twisting the knife, kind of like knowing your girlfriend, the love of your life died, and then she came back and remembers nothing about you.
that kind of, honestly, I didn't expect that to go the way it went. I thought, okay, they'll fall in love again over the course of this movie, and it didn't work. I didn't
It
actually
was
mind it
somber.
though.
It was somber.
It was somber, but it was still. I appreciated that at the end there was a recognition that there was something there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
By
And
literally that one line.
Gamora still got her happy ending, because you can tell she's
with her.
there was a moment where I thought, okay, it's going to show all the Ravagers excited to see her, and she's going to be like, lukewarm, excited to be back, but she looked genuinely happy when they were hugging her and they were seeing her and they were, excited to see her. Like, I think it worked. I mean, yes, they didn't get back together, at least for now. I still think that door is very much open, but it worked. I didn't necessarily mind the fact that they didn't get back together, and I thought they would, and I thought that honestly, I was kind of like, I'm gonna be pissed if they don't get back together in this movie.
Yeah, I'm sure we were all kind of rooting them since we found out
The chemistry was there.
Endgame. Well, when we found out in Endgame that Gamora was back and Peter was looking for her, we all kind of like hoped that they would get back together. But I think this is one of those stories where like it's just as beautiful to know that they at least remember each other, but they know that these are two separate people now.
Right.
Yeah. So like I think that with throughout the story of them trying to like have Peter trying to get her to remember, trying to reconnect to that family kind of aspect, to that love. I think it ended up showing Peter something that he was missing, which was
Exactly.
something that he just doesn't know that he has right now.
Yes,
I think this movie primarily focused on the idea of like each one of them discovering a little bit of themselves, pretty
right.
much.
Well, because they've found themselves in each other, if that makes sense, but
Mm-hmm.
they haven't. They found each other and they became a family because they were all broken.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that it's like, okay, we have this family, we're always going to have this family to come back to in the end. Let's try and find a piece of ourselves, you know? Let's try and get a piece of ourselves back that we never had before, like Mantis going off to do her own thing, and
Yeah, well, I was wondering,
Drax,
like, where are you going?
I saw he she we about Drax got me too because daddy issues. Yeah, like it's Drax being a dad and Gamora being a leader when she always kind of had to be in the shadows. Like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
or not Gamora, Nebula. Nebula may be my favorite character arc of any of them.
I mean,
Nebula has done a complete 360 from being a straight up villain to whatever. It's just it's so cool. He she we said I gotta head out, guys. Sorry I can't stay. I will try to be on more. It's just life takes a lot, dude. Completely
same,
get it. 100% get it, man. We're
same.
happy you stopped by. Have an awesome rest of your night. But yeah, it's just it's her story arc. I mean, she went from showing no emotion except for anger and distrust to slowly starting to trust people when she's, stuck in space with Tony, and, when her relationship with Gamora is healed up, and when she kind of becomes a member of the Guardians. And then we get to this point, and I mean, she's a leader on Nowhere. She is a leader there in what they have there, to quote Rick Grimes, these people have become leaders in what we have here. It's I don't know. Her story arc has been one of my favorites to see, just because it was such a
Because
good
you've seen
360.
such growth in something that was in
Yes, that
something
was
in a
so
character that
lost
was
and was
stripped
so
from
bad.
so much of her humanity.
Right. She had no humanity essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, she cried in this movie. She showed emotion. She,
Mm-hmm.
even little things like when they were in the click clack clop, like whatever the house was with the people on Other Earth or whatever it was called, Counter Earth, and she drinks the stuff in the cup, and she's like, oh, that is good, like her, you know what I mean, or whatever she says,
Yeah, like she's her own
little
person right now.
humanistic things like that I'm like, we've never gotten that from Gamora before, It was
No,
just
not
it was
really.
cool to see that side of her because we hadn't really seen it before. And again, like I said, every single character got their limelight. I didn't ever feel like even Kraglin got his moment in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
and he mattered, bringing Nowhere to the ship at the end, and Cosmo kind of connecting the two so that
I
everybody
love
could
that
get across.
storyline that they had right there.
Yeah,
It was such a cute
like
storyline.
every single character got their due. And
Mm-hmm.
I very much appreciated that, because I think that's something when you have an ensemble cast, Halloween Kills. I think that's something when you have an ensemble cast that can be hard to do. It can be hard to give each
Because like
character
every character needs their due justice.
exactly. I don't know what I'm saying.
Good luck.
Exactly. That's what that's exactly what I mean. So
So yeah,
it was
Gamora,
the
Gamora
character
and
arcs
Peter's
were
story.
fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Every single character had their due justice in this movie, and it just made the weight and the gravity and the risk in this movie so much greater. Because let's be honest,
Yeah.
a lot of characters were probably going to die in this movie. Like it,
Even Adam, when we're talking about the characters, though, even Adam, like, his mom dying probably made him grow up a little bit. Like, we saw
as
a
I
little bit of
imagine seeing that
yeah,
anytime. Yes, I can
a
imagine
little
that
bit of a
was one.
change in the character after that happened, which, I mean, obviously naturally, but
Mhm.
even Gamora, I mean, Gamora went from not caring about them at all to she saved Rocket in the end, and she, willingly went with them, and she, it's so well done. He's a great character writer. And
James Gunn,
again,
yeah.
yes, and it makes me excited for what he's gonna do with Superman Legacy, because I'm not a huge Superman fan, but I mean I like him. He's fine, but I think it makes me even more excited to see what Superman Legacy will look like, and what some of these projects will look like, because he's there, he's in charge, he's doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a really talented guy. What do you think of the whole thing when they went to when they tried to get to Orgoscope with the
I was uncomfortable like the
I
entire way
wasn't
through.
comfortable. It was weird, but it was kind of cool. That's one of those things. It's just like going back to the Star Wars comment when he said he was trying to build the Star Wars of the MCU. It just it's so weird, and it's so its own thing, but it's so cool at the same time. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't fit into it. Almost it doesn't make sense, but it's one of those things like it doesn't have to make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I get what you mean by like the whole James Gunn trying to make this his own Star Wars thing because, like, I mean, in Star Wars, they pretty much create a vast new galaxy with vast new worlds and vast new things that to come and see. And Orgoscope was just that. I ain't never seen anything like that before in my fucking
It was
life.
nuts. It was nuts.
This shit was weird as hell. It was the fact that it was made out of organic matter and
It
people are
was
living
cool though.
inside it.
It was pretty cool.
That was straight up weird as fuck. Was it
Osmosis
bad?
Jones.
No, it was not. The fact that they had these like bodysuits of these like
That was cool.
these people that like that had like these super suits, but they were just organic life form super suits. I was like, oh my goodness, I don't
I
know how
thought
to feel
Drax was
about
gonna
this.
die during that fight scene.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about. I was like, with these characters, they really made you fall in love with them so much to the point where you thought
You care.
anybody was gonna be on a chopping block. Well, let's talk about how many people
There's
almost died in here.
stakes. Yes, there are legitimately higher stakes than in some of the other MCU entries. Like I never. I don't know. I think part of the reason it didn't matter as much in Multiverse of Madness was because it was just kind of like, who are these characters? Like I didn't really care. Like I mean, when I seeing Reed Richards turned into string cheese, I was like, oh, that's awful. Oh, that's wow, that's
Anyways,
bad.
yeah,
That's awful. Whoa. You know what I mean? But I wasn't like, oh, no, 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 no. With Drax, when Drax got shot, I was like,
I was like, oh boy, dead. Because we all kind of
I was
knew.
like, they're gonna go there. It's
I'll
gonna
say
happen. We're gonna
this:
do this.
this is some real switch and bait shit that they did for us, James Gunn. First off, fuck you, because you made me think that someone was gonna die in this movie. In spoiler alert, guys, literally nobody from the Guardians died,
Yeah,
but you
I
made it
thought
seem
somebody
like
was
a
gonna die.
lot of them were gonna die. With Groot, I mean, almost every single one of them we thought was gonna
Had
die.
a moment
You
where you
think
thought
about
they
that,
were a
yeah.
goner. Yeah.
Like you had Groot, who literally got torn to
What?
pieces. You had Nebula, who literally got her shit ripped,
Yeah.
and then you also have Drax, who got shot twice by those fucking organic space guns. You also have Mantis too. I thought Mantis was gonna die with those battery
Yeah.
eaters.
Mantis grew on me. Mantis, I'm gonna be real. I kind of thought she was annoying in Guardians Part Two,
I loved her.
but
I loved her from the get go.
she's really grown on me as a character, and I
Hmm.
kind of like her a
She
lot.
really holds her own.
I think
And
Infinity War was where I was kind of like, okay, she's cool. I can get I can get down with Mantis. I like it.
I get that. And then obviously you have the big one, the big switch bait, and you have Rocket too. Obviously with him, like getting having
Is
that
that not the big
Hogwarts.
one?
No,
What's the
we
big
all knew
one?
what the big one was.
I don't know. What are you talking about?
It was Peter, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was
At the
Peter
end, yeah.
at the
I was
end.
kind of pissed. I was like, really,
Yeah.
really, we're
I
gonna
was like, you're
go
gonna make
here
him. I
now?
was like, that
Like,
came out of nowhere.
yeah.
Like the fact that like he wasn't able to make it. I'll be honest though, I thought that was just something to write in to make it another switch and bait thing. But let's be honest, we didn't really get to see Peter in his new helmet or whatever.
I know there was no new helmet,
There was
and
no new
I
helmet.
didn't.
It was Peter.
I was a little shocked about that.
Yeah. So
You know,
whenever we see him out in space and he's like literally like freezing up and doing all these things, I was like, wow, my man
we
really
needed
just wants to die, didn't he? He
you
just
know what it
because
was?
he could have clicked a button, and he would have had his mask.
They needed Adam to do something.
They really did
They
because
needed Adam to come and
because I
save the
thought that
day at
scene
some point.
I thought that scene was pretty funny because it was like the whole like I think Leonardo da Vinci like the finger touch with God and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So like I thought that was funny. But yeah, I was just like, come on, man. I said, come
Right.
on, you really gonna switch me up like that? Like I was for a second there, I was like, wow, that's how Peter's gonna die like that. But then
Yeah.
I remember I heard a video, I heard an article talk about Chris Pratt and how he was like, I'll only come back if it makes sense. And I was like, how is this going to make sense if you die in space?
Yeah.
I was like, please
Yeah.
tell me that. So I realized I
I
was like, oh, he's
I kind
surviving.
of liked where they left him, you know. And I mean, obviously they're going to be back, you know. James Gunn did a on Twitter like a little bit ago. It was like 3 or 4 hours ago. He was like, you know, I have some time to answer questions. He was like, here are the rules. Number one, it has to be about Guardians of the Galaxy, and number two, I can only answer with yes or no. You know, for obvious reasons. And
That's
somebody
funny.
was like, "Will we see the OG Guardians again?" And he said yes. And he was, you know, he was like, somebody said, is anyone from Guardians of the Galaxy going to be in Superman Legacy? And he said yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but I mean, apparently we will see them all again. I don't think the characters are gone. I think as far as that group of Guardians, it's gone. But I
Hmm.
don't think, I think for Secret Wars or something, I could see us getting a big group of Guardians, like, you know,
I mean,
like
yeah, because we
something like that.
literally have a huge group. We have nowhere. Nowhere has
Exactly.
become like the hub for the Guardians
Right.
of the Galaxy.
So I have
And
no
I don't
doubt we'll
know
see them
who.
together again. You know.
Hmm. I agree because I mean they said in the post credits scene they said Star Lord will return,
Right.
so I'm excited. I'm excited for that. So I mean, so we've talked about the deaths, like the possible deaths in this movie,
Hmm.
without a doubt, pretty baller. So as a story as it continues, though, how do you think this will like? How do you think the Guardians will fare later on in future installments? Then
With the new team, like what we saw in the post credit scene, or
pretty much because if you think about it, like do you think that this is just going to become a spin-off thing, or do you think there's going to be another film coming soon, or coming in, down the pipe works?
I don't think there'll be another one soon. I think if anything, we might get something before Secret Wars.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know that we'll get another one before Secret Wars. I don't know.
I don't think we're
I
going to
think
get
they
a
will be.
James Gunn feature film.
No, 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 no. I don't think so either. I don't know if James Gunn would do a part four.
Hmm.
I think he's told his trilogy personally, and I'm fine with
Well,
that.
they
I
just
think
said
he
it.
did a
They just
great
said
job.
in the thing. They said that the Guardians will come back, though.
Yeah, but he didn't
That's not to say
necessarily.
that he
That
will.
doesn't mean that it'll be a James Gunn Guardians film. It just
Hmm.
means they'll come back at some point, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think they'll obviously. I think they're going to show up in Secret Wars. I mean, they have to. Everybody has to show up in Secret Wars. Like
Yeah.
your mom and her cousin have to show up in Secret Wars. I don't
Okay.
know what I'm trying to say. Okay, but you know, I think it makes sense for them to show up again at some point. As far as the new team, it's fine. It's cool. I mean, I like it. I think it works. Bro,
what's this girl's
Groot
power?
Groot yoked on that new
How many
team.
years? How
My
many
man
years
stood
have it
up and I
been
was like,
since then? That's what I mean. Trees grow. Trees grow pretty. Take a long time to grow. How long has it
yeah.
been? I want to be honest. And what's old girl's superpower?
Who?
The new girl,
Oh
the
yeah,
girl
I
that
have
they
no
saved.
idea.
Like,
Who
what's her
knows?
power?
I don't
Like,
know.
I got so confused. That was like such like a Thor Love and Thunder kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I kind of got that vibe, which is fine. But I was just like, what's this girl's power? Like, I don't know what her
Yeah.
powers are. And like, I'm curious. I'm excited to see what her powers are because there's more of her. You realize that, right?
Yes.
There's way more of her over there. So I don't know what the whole deal is right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, and also, don't we have like a Nova Corps kind of thing coming soon?
I don't know. Like a Nova Corps like project?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could have
I'm
sworn
not
we
sure.
did.
We could. Who knows?
I thought we had a project coming soon. So obviously, in regards to the Guardians, they have to come back at some point. Like we're gonna see
They will.
Rocket
They'll come.
again
They will come back. I
because
mean,
yeah.
we'll
So
see
I don't
Drax
know.
and Mantis and Nebula. We'll see
Well,
them
I mean,
all
they
again.
said
It's
Drax
just
wasn't. I thought Drax was done. I thought David Tisa was done with Drax.
maybe he might be.
That was the whole point of like this movie being
I
so
think
anticipated was the fact that like everyone seemed to be done with this movie.
I thought they would kill Drax. Honestly, I was a
I
little
thought so
shocked
too.
that they didn't kill Drax.
Mm-hmm.
But just especially since he said he was done. Like I think Peter Quill will be back. I think Nebula will be back. I think Gamora will be back. Rocket and Groot will definitely be back. I don't think Rocket and Groot will ever go away, honestly.
No, Vin Diesel's not one to give up a franchise that easy.
Mantis and Drax, I could see them flying off into the big beautiful sky. You know what I mean?
Who?
I could see them going away. Mantis and Drax. But I
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know.
Okay, so here, let me ask you this then.
We's back. He said, by the way, that new member is Fosvel or something, and she is taking the Captain Marvel mantle in the future. Interesting.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty dope.
Fazvel. That's cool. I
Kind of
didn't
like
know
that.
that.
Maybe we'll have a Marvels tie-in.
I mean, very well could. I mean,
Who knows?
let's see. I'm cool with that.
Be dope.
To be honest.
What is it? Fosvel?
Fazvel. I got a osmosis thing. Who is this? Phyla. That's who it is.
Phyla.
Yeah. Phyla. Okay, cool. I'm okay with that.
I got phase cell. Cell cycle is the name we give the process through which cells replicate and make two new cells.
That's what I got at first.
Cell
too.
cycle has different stages called G1, S, G2, and M.
That's
G1 is the stage where the
first.
cell is preparing to divide. So what is it again? Phyla?
Phyla, yeah.
I am unfamiliar with that character.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. It looks like she was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy roster. I'm down with that.
Huh.
I think I tend to forget that, like, how vast the Guardians of the Galaxy is. Granted, of like, it's not just that original cast, if that makes sense. So I get that. I can get why that would happen.
So she has a pretty big part of the Annihilation story.
Oh, that's cool.
Interesting. By the way, this is completely unrelated. So Miguel and I talked. There's a pretty big rumor about who they've cast for Reed Richards and Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four film, which we're not going to talk about now. But anyways, more on that later. There is I saw there again. Rumors are flying about Fantastic Four.
They are.
Supposedly Galactus is going to be in a post-credit scene. But like why? Why are we talking about Galactus when we're building to, you know? Like it just seems odd to be laying the groundwork. Galactus is his own big bad. Like I don't think Galactus is a one-time villain, you know, like the High Evolutionary was or like Ultron was or things like that. I don't think that Galactus is a, you know, like the hurricane in the sky, like he was in Rise of the Silver Surfer or whatever. You know, where it's just like we solve it and gone. Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Be hard to come back from that Marvel after that.
It would. I still like that movie. I'm just I still I maintain that, but I kind of dig Rise of the Silver Surfer. It's a fun one, but yeah. I don't know. There are so many different rumors about Fantastic Four. It's like almost you don't know what to believe. But
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. The account you told me that made that report was, you said she was valid, so I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't really.
I don't know. The Scooper stuff is just like some of it I think is legit. Some of it I'm like, this is total bullshit. Like you're not. That's just not. It's not real. But I don't know. That one in particular I've seen, and I'm like, some of the stuff I've seen, I'm like, oh. Okay. You know what you're talking about. All right. you know, some of the leaker people have not been quite as active lately, which is fine. I don't think we need any more leaker culture. I don't think we need that in cinema.
They all got silenced.
Okay, I hope so. Trent, if you're listening, Trent will come save the day.
No, it's not Trent. It's fucking Disney. What you mean?
Trent.
Disney got tired of all Lakers. Like,
yeah. You have like the FBI, the CIA. Disney. Disney's on a completely different level, you know. We said her and the other children in prison are designed after the first Marvel lady that dies in the Origin for Carol Danvers movie. The High Evolutionary got her Kree blood or DNA after or someone during the crash in Captain Marvel, and then designed those kids with the platinum hair and eye color. That's you're right with the hair and eye color thing. That's an interesting one. I didn't catch that. I actually wondered about the kids. I was like, because we didn't at the moment when we found the whole like little
I love how the
concentration camp
Krieger
type
still
thing on
thinks.
his ship with when Mantis and Drax and Nebula were in there, like
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of like, what's the kids like? Why are they locked up, but all of the other
Bro,
people
when I
are
saw
out
that,
walking
when I
around?
saw
Like
that, I looked at you and I was like, bro, we went from like children genocide to like human genocide to straight up
animal torture.
slaves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went
I
from the
was like,
animal torture stuff then to like human torture, and then now we're
I
yeah.
was like,
It went there.
holy shit.
It's not for the faint of heart,
This
man. It's
movie
really
went
not.
there.
It
I
went
gotta
hard.
say. And we had our first F bomb, guys. Ladies and gentlemen.
Dude,
We had our first F bomb.
I did not expect that. I
I
was
read
like,
I no,
as
I
soon
read
as
a
it happened,
report.
I
I
was
read a
like,
report in the article saying that this movie was gonna drop its first F bomb in the MCU, and I was like, I'm for it. I
as soon
can't
as it
wait.
happened, I said, did he just say that? And you were like, yeah, yep, yeah, I did.
Yep.
Yeah.
He said, open the fucking door. I was like,
Everybody in the
Peter
theater
looked.
went,
Yeah, they did. It's because Chris Pratt's so Christian too. So I mean, it's like, whew, that's so funny.
yeah,
But I don't know, man. Like, I love Star Lord in
yeah.
this movie.
It was cool.
He was really just straight down the business. Let's be honest.
The
He was
whole
not a kid. He was not trying to act like a I miss my daddy or I miss my family or kind
Yeah.
of Rudy and Booty.
Yeah.
When it came down to brass tacks, like my man was down to make business happen.
it was cool because the whole like thinking about the counter Earth thing, it's cool because everything about what James Gunn has done with the design of the planets and the different places in the Guardians films, it's so outlandish and weird and crazy with these different locations and things like that. But then we got to Counter Earth, and it was almost like, okay, we've seen the Guardians out in space on nowhere and on, living planets or made out of organic matter and all this stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see them drive a car. Now let's see them like navigate normal human society, even though it's not really normal humans, but
Yeah, yeah.
you get the idea. I mean, like sitting like Drax on the couch and trying to
Mhm.
drive the car and things like that. The guy riding the bike when Drax just goes, and knocks him off. Like
And the
things
fact
like
that
that.
Drax
Like,
knew
it's
how to
just
drive a
cool.
bike.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck
It
did
was
Drax
just
learn how to drive a bike?
I
And Peter
thought
did not know how to drive a car.
as soon as that happened, I was like, this is kind of a cool like juxtaposition of like
Yeah.
we get to like we've seen them in the alien stuff. Now we get to see them trying to navigate like the real world.
Well, I mean, we saw that, and I think they introduced that really well because we learned to love that in that Christmas special. Let's be honest.
Right.
I loved that Christmas special.
Yeah. It was good.
Mantis and Drax
fun.
Relationship in that feature film was pretty nice. I love the chemistry with them, and the chemistry just pretty much translated spilled over into this movie too. And the way Drax and Mantis protected each other against not only the villains, the bad people, but obviously Nebula too, because Nebula was harking on these two,
Yeah.
like bullying the shit out of them, and they were just protecting each other. And I was like, oh, some really cute,
Yeah.
like brothers and sisters kind of thing. So I don't know, man.
Totally.
This movie just had so much heart, and
It did.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'd pretty much be going, I'd pretty much be spinning around, in circles now at this point and talking about how much I love this movie because this movie had a lot of heart in it, and I mean, I'm willing to watch this again, in theaters because it is such a visual spectacle too, of showcasing. Like James Gunn made some great shots. The music, the soundtrack is something I'm going to be listening to at work almost every single day next week, and in regards to like the MCU as a whole, like again, like this trilogy is pretty badass. Like I loved
is.
it. I love this trilogy, man. I'm not gonna give it a rating because I don't want to rate
Oh,
this
I
with
am.
glossy eyes. I don't want to rate this with glossy eyes right now. I love this movie so much right now. I don't want to give it a rating where I'm like, oh god, I might hate this a little bit longer. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to give glossy eyes to this. So
Well, for me, this is a 9.9, which is
Damn.
one of the highest
See,
ratings I've
that's
ever
why-
given.
that's
on-
why I didn't want
on
to do
the
that.
show. It's a
That's why I didn't
9.9
want to do
for
it
me.
because I'd be really high up there, man.
I mean, when I think of
the whole thing I have to rewatch the trilogy as a whole to give it.
the reason it's so high is like, when I think of, and look, I know if you show this to someone who thinks, that who's like a real cinephile, and I watch the Academy Awards every year, and I think that The Shawshank Redemption and Titanic and Gone with the Wind are the greatest cinematic masterpiece. Like, I think they're cinematic masterpieces too, but like, I think this, when I try to think of issues I had with this movie,
Mm-hmm.
I can't really think of any issues with it. I thought it was a perfect ending to a really good trilogy. And that's why I gave it such a high score. So it is a 9.9 for me. It's pretty rare that I would ever give a 10, but
I
this
mean,
one is up
yeah,
there.
it's up there. I mean, let's take a look at the tomato meter. Let's be honest.
What's it got on Rotten
It's
Tomatoes right now?
81 right now, and it's fresh. And the audience score is 95. That's
Yeah.
pretty good, man.
Let's do this real quick. Let me hop
I think
over
I
here.
think I saw the critic consensus. It says a galactic group hug that might squeeze a little too tight on the heartstrings. The finals Guardians of the Galaxy is a loving last hurrah for the MCU's most ragtag family. And that's true. It's the most it's the ragtag family of the MCU. Kind of like how the Fantastic Four is the family of the MCU. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
This is the ragtag family, and I'm completely okay with that. Completely okay with that.
I was trying to read what some of the negative things said. So this person that Noah Berlatsky said, when the Guardians get into a big group at hug at the end of the film, it's supposed to evoke love and solidarity, but it might be better characterized as the unity of capital determined to offend no one and turn no one's dollars away. I don't see crap like that. I'm like,
Where'd we get woke in that?
no, there's nothing woke about that. I'm so sick of the word woke, and I know this gentleman didn't use that. I'm just saying, like, I'm so sick of people being like, "Oh, it's woke."
What is it? What is it?
Stop using that
It's
word. Like, come
it's
up
an
with a new
over-processed
word.
send-off that's so focused on going out with a bang that it loses its joy, charm, trust in us to actually feel things on our own.
No, I completely disagree.
I don't know.
100% disagree with that. Someone else said Marvel's best movie in at least 5 years, and then it goes on for another 40 awful minutes. What is up with these people?
Damn.
90% of this was the situational emotion, and I didn't connect. It became a formula of several fighting encounters, too many new characters, and the high evolutionary villain screaming every line until there was no more scenery to chew. Yo, Space Adrian. Okay, I completely disagree with some of those. I think it was amazing. Honestly, I really do. And I know people are going to be like, they're MCU fanboys. Okay.
Again,
I'll take it.
like this. Let me just say
my
this.
heart.
In the age where Brad will say this, in the age where a lot of the MCU films have not really been living up to the hype that we've wanted,
this one was awesome.
This one was fucking awesome.
It lived up to everything I wanted.
We're literally milking the shit out of this movie.
Yes.
We are loving it for what it is. I enjoyed it, and I knew that this film was going to be fucking top notch because I knew from the minute I saw Guardians of the Galaxy after I saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, this is something special.
Yeah.
This is what the MCU does really well, which is create a whole new story, or not like use a very obscure character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in the Marvel Universe, and just blow it up and make it just as loving as the heavy hitters that we've all come to know and love.
Miguel, I'm just saying, for in the poll in the chat for best superhero trilogy, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy won with 60%, and Guardians of the Galaxy and the Dark Knight trilogy tied for 20%.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though so many people gave so much hate
to Spider-Man 3.
So many people gave so much hate to it. I don't know. Give it a couple of weeks.
I saw a few people that were, like, people have talked about this, not even recently, but in the last couple years, I've seen people be like, was Spider-Man 3 really that bad of a movie? Like, did we judge it too harshly when it came out because of the Topher Grace thing?
I think so.
Not Topher, really, looking at it, Topher Grace's Venom is the worst part of that movie. And I like Topher Grace. I don't think Topher Grace is a bad actor, but there's certain actors that roles just don't fit them, and I don't think Eddie Brock fit Topher Grace at all.
Well,
I don't think that it. I don't know. I think if you would have put, well, I don't know if Tom Hardy would have fit that either because it was a little bit of a darker, more sinister Venom. You
Mm-hmm.
know.
Well, here I'll say this: with the Spider-Man 3 trilogy, I think I remember things that like there were tropes that I remember that like directors did not want to touch at all, and one of them was ensemble casting, which with just two villains, relatively speaking, two villains was too much for no three. That being said, three villains was way too much people in a superhero film, and that's one
Yeah.
thing that they thought was one of the downside of this movie was the fact of that movie was the fact that there was too many villains and too much time to give each character a just due. That trope was blown out of the water in the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I
So
think.
now people are able to enjoy the movie for what it is and understand the limitations and actually enjoy the movie for
Yeah.
for being a final sequel, for it to be the final trilogy. I mean, Spider-Man 3 did a really good job on tying the movie up in a bow. Let's be honest, it
I
did.
think it did a great job.
Yeah, so I get why I love the movie. I love that trilogy, but I'd say in regards to like how the fans like how the critics reacted to it so far, I gotta say I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy was gonna be spot on. I thought it was gonna knock it out of the
It's
park.
just it's funny. I find it very interesting with Guardians of the Galaxy, and again, I think it's a testament to James Gunn's writing ability. And I mean, it didn't have a weak entry. I'm not saying part two was bad by any means because I
Part
enjoyed part
two
two.
was awesome,
I
dude.
did. Um, but again, Spider-Man 2 was the best of Raimi's trilogy. The Dark Knight was the best of the Dark Knight trilogy. That was not the case for the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I would say that the best was the last one.
And
You
that's
know,
what you want.
if I know, but that's never what happens. That's never.
Exactly.
If you look at any trilogy, that's
Mm-hmm.
never what happens. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, hell, even the Blade trilogy, that's pretty much what everybody loved the second Blade, but then everyone hated Blade Trinity.
yeah,
So like, yeah, it's usually the sequel is always better than the third installment.
right.
That wasn't the case of this. I showed you the picture of like all three films, and you know how it has like the horse, like a bad drawing of the horse. It progressively got better, story wise. The Guardians of the Galaxy progressively got better as a full coherent story,
Right.
and I just thought that people would love that more than, or would appreciate that more than having one great movie, having the greatest sequel of all times, and then cheesing it out on the third film.
Yeah.
So
I I know a lot of people would agree with you. A lot of people think The Winter Soldier's like maybe the best MCU movie.
the best in that trilogy. Yeah, I'd agree.
I
It's
actually
up
would
there.
put Civil War over that. I really enjoyed Civil War quite a bit. Again, not a perfect movie, but I did enjoy it for what it's worth.
Hmm.
But this one, man, it's the most fun I've had at the movies in a while.
Same here.
It is. I had an absolute blast with it.
Even though I was sweating my balls off,
Yeah,
it was the
it was
longest time
rather
I've
warm in
seen.
that theater.
Like it's been a while since I've been in a packed
It's
theater.
been a while. It's been a
Hey, I
while.
don't want to be in a packed theater anymore. There's a lot of mouth breathings in there, and I got warm quick. I
Yeah.
mean, when I got up, I told Brad, I said, Brad, watch my back. It's probably gonna be dark because of how much sweat I
Well,
just had.
the couple, because my parents went with us and saw it because they wanted to see it too, and like it was like me, Miguel, and then my mom and my dad, and like they were over there. I had a couple next to me, and they were fine, but they were like sitting on top of each other. I like they had the armrests up, and they were like I looked over at one point, and homeboy literally was in his girl's lap like this. And then she'd have her legs kicked up and her back to me and stuff. I was like, "What are you all doing?" I was like, "You're
Sounds like
acting
a
like
whole lot
you're
of mind your business.
laying." Well, it's fine. It's funny. You're acting like you're laying on a couch or something in the middle of a movie
Mhm.
theater. But
No,
you know,
no, I get it.
so, but this one was absolutely spectacular in every
Agreed.
way, shape, and form.
Hmm.
Definitely the best MCU film since Endgame for me. And I do slightly put it over Spider-Man: No Way Home. Slightly. I'm talking like 0.1 over Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, if you ask me tomorrow, that might change. But I really, really, really
I don't
enjoyed
know,
this
man.
movie a lot more. If you had to pick one, No Way Home or Volume 3, which one?
I do Volume 3.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got to
It
be
was really
honest.
good.
Yeah,
100%, man. But really, really enjoyed it. An incredible trilogy capper. And I'm very, very excited to see what James Gunn does with DC. Very excited to see what comes next for the Guardians, and hopefully we'll get some more direction for the MCU as we move towards
let's
Secret
hope so.
Wars and things like that. Next up is the Marvels, so we'll see. We'll see how the Marvels goes. We'll see how Secret Invasion goes, and there's a few things going on. I mean, it definitely, the next projects do look a little bit darker in nature. I know the Marvels looks fun, but like Secret Invasion looks a little bit darker.
Yeah,
Things like that.
we're gonna get very
Um,
espionage on that one.
yeah, and I'm excited for that. I think people are ready for darker stories in the MCU. I
Agreed.
know I am, at least. So, real quick before we get out of here, here is a quick glimpse at what is coming. So tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, we are dropping the all new intro, the opening credits for this show, for the Let's Talk Movies show. 8 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a live premiere. That's something we were kind of working on over the last couple of weeks, just to kind of update things, and I absolutely love it. I told Miguel that video is like a celebration of everything we've done in the last 2 years, and I think it's so cool. So, but that's coming up. I'm not sure exactly what live shows and things like that are going to look like next week. I'll have to kind of double check on that one, but we will definitely.
We're gonna come up with some.
I 100% we will have a video dropping on Tuesday night. So definitely, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Click the like button and all that stuff. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, go to Facebook, type in Let's Talk Movies YouTube channel -- community page and join that group. Usually I try to post a what's happening at the channel this week thing in there. We kind of post some updates on the channel. We're going to start, once we can get some more members in there, I'm going to try to start, putting in some conversation, getting people talking. I think the Facebook group thing has really taken off, especially in the horror community. So we're going to try and lean into that a little bit more, but brand new opening credits tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Sorry I was a little under the weather. I've been sneezing and my throat is about as dry as the Sahara Desert right now. I need to go chug 6 bottles of water, but I'm kind of looking forward to all this rain tomorrow, so it washes away all the pollen in the air and on everything. I was mowing and I was watching dust just poof up in the air.
Bothering you? I know.
Huh?
I know allergies are bad.
It's awful, but listen. Thank you guys so much for being here. New episodes of our shows premiere every week at 8 p.m. Eastern. We drop new videos every Tuesday night. We are very quickly planning stuff for the summer and for the fall. Bum 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 bum. Happy Halloween. Booty dee dooty da. Happy Halloween. Ooh ah ee ah ah. We're very quickly planning a lot of things that are going up for that. So we'll have an official announcement about that stuff later on. But you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at LTM Podcast KY. Brand new intro drops tomorrow, guys. You are the absolute best. And we'll talk to you soon. We love you. Be good to each other. Peace.
Peace.